Dear all, in our previous lecture, we learned about the numerical problems and we solved two problems in flywheel. In today's lecture, we will be seeing the different fuel injection systems, fuel systems in general. Now, fuel system is a very important component in an automobile. We know that without fuel, the present automobiles will not work. However, in future, this will all change, and as we mentioned in our previous classes, all these components will be soon replaced by electric vehicle components. So soon it will be motors and drives which will control the speeds of motors. So at present again, since we have the fuels petrol and diesel, so we'll have to learn about the fuel injection system. And many developments have taken place in the fuel supply systems. Earlier on, we had carbureted systems which used carburetor, especially in petrol engines. We know the function of carburetor is to mix the air and fuel in the correct proportion, correct ratio, and supply it to the engine cylinder. And later on, all these carbureted systems were replaced by newer and improved fuel injection techniques in petrol engines. In diesel engines from earlier time itself, we had fuel injection systems where the air is first of all taken into the engine cylinder and it is compressed to high temperature and pressure, and during the compression stroke, diesel oil will be sprayed as very fine spray by making use of a fuel injector, and due to the high temperature and pressure after compression, when diesel is sprayed, it will burn instantaneously and causes the air to expand and thus produces the working stroke. So fuel injection system has been in use in diesel engines from a very earlier time period itself. However, it was introduced in petrol engines recently in the sense in early 2000s. And many more developments have taken place in fuel injection systems. So let us see what are the different fuel supply systems that existed and which are now existing in automobiles. So fuel systems, the function of the fuel system is to supply the air and fuel in a correct ratio to the engine cylinder. And in petrol engines, the air fuel mixture is used and it is supplied to the engine, whereas in diesel engines we know that only air is supplied to the engine cylinder and diesel is sprayed inside the engine cylinder by an injector. In petrol engines we know petrol is a highly volatile liquid, it will evaporate very easily. So earlier systems did not use any fuel injection system. In earlier systems, carburetor was used. And in petrol engines, when the suction stroke happens, the air and fuel mixture, the fuel used to be mixed with the air, and this air and fuel mixture, we call it as the charge. It is taken into the engine cylinder due to the low pressure created inside the engine cylinder. And the process of preparing the air fuel mixture in petrol engines was known as carburation. It was used in earlier engines. So air fuel mixture, when air is flowing through an area, the fuel used to be mixed with it and this air fuel mixture was taken into the engine cylinder, and this process was known as carburation. And this carburation process was achieved with the help of using a component or a part known as carburetor. Now this carburetor does not exist in automobiles, and even two-wheelers, the modern two-wheelers does not use carburetor. We can find it only in very olden vehicles. Nowadays two-wheelers and four-wheelers and even higher automobiles, they use fuel injection system, because fuel injection has much more advantages than the conventional carburetor system that we will see later on in this lecture. And it is desirable to have a complete vaporized mixture. So the proportion in which the air and fuel needs to be mixed, there is a particular ratio, so that the mixture will undergo combustion completely. So only if there is complete combustion, the volumetric efficiency and the volumetric efficiency will increase, and also the power output will increase, and some harmful effects like nitrous oxide emission and the smoking and accumulation of smoke and dust particles, all this will be reduced only if there is a complete combustion. So for a complete combustion of air fuel mixture, there is a particular ratio that has to be maintained for the same, and that ratio we call it as the stoichiometric ratio. So air fuel ratio, from the name itself we can infer what is the air fuel ratio. Air fuel ratio is the mass ratio of air to fuel. So what is the ratio of air to fuel present in an internal combustion engine? That is known as the air fuel ratio. So in case of petrol engines, the stoichiometric air fuel ratio, that is the ratio that is required for the air fuel mixture to burn completely, that is determined as 14.7:1. That means for one part of fuel, or for 1 unit of fuel, 14.7 units of air is required. So if there is a mixture of one part of fuel and 14.7 parts of air, this air fuel mixture will undergo complete combustion. So this is the stoichiometric ratio. Now there can be variations in this ratio. There will be variations in this ratio, air fuel ratio. So air fuel ratio depends on the engine load conditions of the vehicle. The load conditions of the engine will not be always a constant. It will vary according to the different driving conditions. For example, sometimes the engine will require more power or may undergo more load. At that time, we may need a very rich mixture. Rich mixture means the fuel to air mixture, the air fuel ratio mixture, the mixture will contain more quantity of fuel. So the ratio, we can say sometimes it may be 8:1 or 10:1, etc. So we can say in general that if the air fuel ratio is lesser than the stoichiometric ratio, then that air fuel mixture can be called as a rich mixture. So whenever the air fuel ratio is lesser than the stoichiometric ratio, that is 14.7:1, then we call that as a rich mixture, because there is more fuel when compared with the stoichiometric ratio. So in that mixture there will be more quantity of fuel. So that is why it is known as a rich mixture. So rich mixture is used in automobiles when it is undergoing heavy load conditions. That is when the vehicle has to accelerate, or vehicle is undergoing heavy load, the engine is undergoing heavy load condition. So in order to increase the power output, we need to provide a more rich mixture. And rich mixture has too much of gasoline. Gasoline or petrol, and the air content will be lesser. And the stoichiometric ratios which are greater than the air fuel ratios which are greater than the stoichiometric ratio, they are called as lean mixture. So lean mixture will have lesser quantity of fuel and more quantity of air. For example, if the ratio is 16:1 or 18:1, all these ratios which are greater than the stoichiometric ratio are called lean mixtures. So lean mixtures are used when the vehicle does not, or the engine does not operate under load conditions. So it produces only very less power. And the lean mixtures, using lean mixtures may cause higher temperatures within the engine, and it can lead to nitrogen or nitrous oxides. So whenever the engine temperature or the temperature inside the engine cylinder is very high, the nitrous oxide emissions will also be very high. So it is dependent on the engine temperature. And many more problems can also arise when the vehicle is running continuously in lean mixtures. For example, in the case of diesel engines, we have an additional component known as glow plug. So you may not have heard of glow plugs very commonly. Glow plugs are devices, heating elements, which will heat the air that is entering into the engine cylinder. So in the case of diesel engines, only air is taken into the engine cylinder. So during compression, the air undergoes very high temperature. Air is heated to very high temperature. So in order to heat it to a very high temperature, that is when air is taken into the engine cylinder during the suction stroke itself, this glow plug will preheat the air, so that during compression the temperature of the air inside the cylinder will be raised to a further higher limit. So preheating the air is more advantageous, because engine temperatures, the temperature within the engine or the temperature of the air during compression stroke can be raised to a further higher limit if we are using glow plugs. So such components inside the engine can be damaged due to higher engine temperatures when a lean mixture is used. So we cannot always use lean mixture, we cannot always use rich mixture. Now if we just compare the rich and lean mixtures, here it is represented what the rich fuel and the lean fuel mixture means. Rich mixture means there is more fuel and less oxygen. Lean means there is less fuel and more oxygen or air. And as we mentioned, the rich mixtures are used for obtaining more power for the vehicle, that is under load conditions. And lean mixtures, they are not used for any load conditions, but they produce many harmful products like nitrous oxide due to the higher temperatures. And when the fuel content is more, obviously there is less fuel efficiency, and harmful components or pollutants like carbon monoxide, other oxides of carbon, etc. are produced due to unburnt fuel. Unburnt in the sense when there is lesser content of air or oxygen, complete combustion does not occur. So that is why carbon monoxide occurs. So it is again producing harmful components. Now just we'll rush through how the air fuel ratio changes with the engine conditions. These are the different engine conditions that are normally experienced while the vehicle is used. Cold start means the first time when we are starting the car. it needs a very extra rich mixture, that is the mixture which contains more amount of fuel. And during idling process, when it is in cold condition, again we need a rich mixture. And during idle condition or idling condition, when the engine becomes warm, we need a balanced mixture. Balanced in the sense a stoichiometric, near to stoichiometric ratio. When we accelerate it lightly, we need a slightly rich mixture. Medium acceleration needs a rich mixture. Very high acceleration needs extra rich mixture. Then cruising under light loads needs a variation from balanced or a stoichiometric ratio to a lean ratio. Cruising under moderate load needs balanced to rich mixture. Heavy loads in cruising needs a rich mixture again. Coasting, in the sense acceleration is not given and there is no load condition, engine is simply running, so lean to very lean mixtures are used. And while decelerating the vehicle or when stopping the vehicle, very lean to fuel off condition is experienced. So these are the different engine conditions and the air fuel ratios that are needed for these engine conditions to operate. This is just a representation of how the air fuel ratios range with the fuel. Too much rich mixture has excess fuel and lean mixture has excess air. And rich mixture, the advantages, one of the advantages, it will cool the engine because it has more content of fuel, and this fuel will evaporate and it will absorb all the heat of the engine. And lean mixture, since there is more quantity of air and no fuel to take out the heat of the air, so you can experience a very hot condition for the exhaust gases. Now running in a very rich mixture, it can cause stalling of the engine. Stalling in the sense the carbon deposits can accumulate due to incomplete combustion, and gradually it can lead to engine stoppage. And it can flood the engine, again blocking the engine with all this dust and the carbon particles. And the glow plugs, in the case of diesel engines we learned glow plugs. The glow plugs will become wet and it may not function properly. And lean mixtures, due to high temperature, it can cause engine damage. It will wear out the glow plugs and gradually the glow plugs will get fouled or damaged. So let us move on to the earlier fuel supply systems, the air fuel mixture system. So this is the component, the carburetor, which used to mix air and fuel in the required ratio in the case of petrol engines. So carburetor was mainly used, or it was used only in the case of petrol engines. So carburetor component can be used only for volatile fuels such as petrol. So volatile in the sense it evaporates very easily. And spark ignition engines usually use petrol engines, which is very volatile. So that was why carburetor was used for petrol engines. In carburetor, the air fuel mixture is prepared outside the engine cylinder. So whenever the air is taken into the engine cylinder, the air had to pass through the carburetor, and within the carburetor the air and the fuel was mixed in the required ratio, and this air fuel mixture was then supplied to the engine cylinder. And mixing of air and fuel, it had to be done according to the engine load condition. As we discussed earlier, different engine load conditions require different air fuel ratios. So how this air fuel ratio was achieved in carburetor, that we will see. And again, the quantity and quality of the air fuel mixture has to be varied based on the engine load condition. So carburetor is a component which does the carburation process, that is mixing of air and the fuel in the correct ratio, in the combustible ratio as required by the engine. So this was the function of carburetor. Now a very simple carburetor operation diagram is being shown here. So it is a very basic diagram of the carburetor. Advanced types of carburetors were also available, but we need not go into too much details about that. So this is the simple carburetor, I think, which you have already learned in your lower semesters. So carburetor basically consists of a Venturi tube. So this tube is known as the Venturi tube. Venturi tube means a tube of decreasing cross section at the center. So Venturi tube has a decrease of area at the center, and this portion is known as the Venturi area. And there are two valves, one is the choke valve and another is the throttle valve. So two valves are there. And then we have the fuel tank from which the fuel enters through a filter. The strainer is the filter, so it will filter out all the dirt particles and the fuel will collect in a collecting tank. So this is the fuel storage tank, fuel collection tank. The fuel collection tank again has a float valve. The float valve will ensure that a constant level of fuel is maintained within this tank. So you know that usually in water tanks, in example Syntex tanks, we have a float valve, a ball shaped float valve. So whenever the level of water falls down, the float valve moves down and it opens up the valve and water will enter. Similarly, the function is very similar here. Whenever the level of the petrol decreases, this float valve will come down. So float valve has a needle valve which is closing the area where the fuel is entering. So this needle valve will close this area. So when the float valve comes down, the whole unit moves downwards so that this area is opened up. So when this area is opened, the fuel will enter and fall inside the tank, the collecting tank. And when the level increases, the float valve will move upwards and this needle valve will come and close this area, and the fuel entry will be stopped. So that is how we ensure that a constant level of fuel is maintained within the tank. And this tank has an opening to the atmosphere. The purpose is to maintain this fuel at atmospheric pressure. So when there is an opening to the atmosphere, it is a very small opening, a very micro opening. So the purpose is to maintain the fuel at atmospheric pressure. And we have the air bleed mechanism which is used to bypass air, so which you need not bother about too much now. So this is the bypass air tube known as the air bleed. And there is a fuel discharge nozzle. The tip of the nozzle is located at the venturi area of the carburetor. Now let us see how this carburetor functions. During the suction stroke, low pressure is created inside the engine cylinder. We all know that. A partial vacuum is created inside the engine cylinder. So when there is a pressure difference between the atmosphere and the engine cylinder, we all know that the fluids move from an area of high pressure to an area of low pressure. So air is taken inside to the engine cylinder due to the pressure difference. So this air is allowed to pass through the Venturi tube. So this tube is known as the Venturi tube. So air is entering into the Venturi tube, and as this air enters and moves through the Venturi area, you know that the area of cross section of the Venturi area is small when compared to the area at the inlet. So due to this reduction of cross sectional area, there is a change of velocity and pressure. So here the pressure decreases and the velocity increases. So whenever there is an area change, there is a decrease of pressure and velocity in the fluids. So in the case of air also, the same is applicable. So when air enters and reaches an area of lower cross section, the speed of the air increases, the velocity increases, and the pressure decreases. So due to this pressure difference, we have told earlier that the fuel here is existing under atmospheric pressure due to this opening, and the other end of this discharge nozzle, that end has now a very low pressure due to this decreasing area. So due to that, fuel will flow through the discharge nozzle and it will be deposited, or the fuel will be supplied at the through the tip of the nozzle to this area. So fuel as drops, it will fall down as droplets due to the reduction in pressure at this area. So when air moves through this area, the velocity increases, pressure decreases, and the fuel is also being deposited in this area. So as we know that petrol is highly volatile, it can be vaporized very easily. This vapor, the air and fuel will be mixing here, and the air will be vaporizing the petrol, and this air fuel mixture or the vapor will be moving downwards through the throttle valve to the engine cylinder. So whenever this throttle valve is connected to the acceleration mechanism, so whenever there is high requirement of air fuel mixture, this throttle valve opens up and more air fuel mixture enters into the engine cylinder. So whenever there is less requirement, this throttle valve will close and there is only lower quantity of air fuel mixture going into the engine cylinder. Now, what is the function of choke valve? So we all know that in earlier vehicles we used to have choke mechanism. So choke mechanism is used during the idle start condition. So whenever we need to start the engine in idle condition, the cold start, usually cold start condition. So whenever we are going to first start the engine will be having a cold a body condition. The engine temperature will be very lower. So at that time, the air fuel mixture will have difficulty to burn. So during this time, we need to supply more quantity of fuel so that it catches fire or it ignites instantaneously. So in order to increase the quantity of fuel or petrol going into the engine cylinder, we use a choke valve. So when we turn on the choke valve, this choke valve will actually close in the carburetor. So when it closes, there is a lesser quantity of air that is going into the Venturi tube, and as a result there will be more quantity of fuel and lesser quantity of air. So the air fuel mixture, when the choke valve is closed, the air fuel mixture will be very rich, and this rich air mixture is taken into the engine cylinder. And when the choke valve is turned off, it will open up and air will be entering normally into the Venturi tube, and the air fuel mixture will be becoming stoichiometric ratio, or it will be becoming lean depending on the engine condition. So that is the working of carburetor system. So this system is not used nowadays because more improved fuel injection systems are now available in petrol engines. So let's just read through. That is the function. Objective of the carburetor, that is to provide quality air fuel mixture. And what is the function of float chamber? This is the float chamber or the collecting tank. The float chamber, again, it is used to collect the fuel in the required amount, and float and needle valve maintains the constant petrol level inside the float chamber that we already saw. And what happens when the float goes down? When the amount of fuel decreases inside the float chamber or the collecting tank, the float goes down and the fuel is filled inside the chamber. And fuel level, when it goes up, the float also goes up and it will close the fuel supply. And the simple carburetor, again, it works on the Bernoulli's principle, that is, when reduced area is there, the pressure increases and velocity, the pressure decreases and velocity increases. And the Venturi tube is designed in such a way that it offers minimum resistance to airflow. So even if there is a small decrease of cross section, the design of the Venturi tube is such that it offers very less resistance to the flow of air. And at the Venturi throat, velocity reaches maximum and pressure reaches minimum. So this is the throat area where there is a lower pressure and the velocity is higher. And this pressure difference is called actually carburetor depression. So that pressure difference between the float chamber and Venturi throat. So float chamber is actually maintained at atmospheric pressure because there is an opening to the atmosphere. So the fluid or the fuel here is maintained at atmospheric pressure, whereas here the pressure is very low. So this difference in pressure is known as carburetor depression. And it is due to this pressure difference that the fuel is discharged to the carburetor Venturi area. Now, the difference in air fuel ratio. How do you determine what is the quantity of air fuel ratio to be maintained or to be supplied to the engine cylinder? So in carburetor, we follow a governing process known as quantitative governing. So governing is the process of varying the amount of air and the air or air fuel mixture to the engine. Supplying the required amount of air or air fuel mixture to the engine depending on the load conditions of the engine is known as governing. So in carburetor we follow quantitative governing. Quantitative governing means we vary the quantity of air fuel mixture to be supplied to the engine. If there is heavy load condition, we supply more air fuel mixture, and if the engine load requirement is less, then we supply a lower quantity of air fuel mixture. That is known as quantitative governing. So only quantitative governing can be achieved in the case of carburetor. That is the advantage, that is the disadvantage of carburetor. So only the quantity of air fuel mixture in total can be varied. If we want to increase the quantity of fuel, then it is very difficult. We cannot control the quantity of fuel in the air fuel ratio. It depends on the evaporation. When the engine is experiencing heavy load, this throttle valve is opened up more so that more air is entering into this Venturi tube. So when more air is passing, it will evaporate more fuel and the air fuel mixture will be entering into the cylinder. When there is less requirement of load, this throttle valve will be remaining closed. The flow of air will be lesser, velocity of air will be lesser, so only lesser quantity of fuel will be evaporated and it will be entering into the engine cylinder. So that is how we do the quantitative governing in carburetor. So the amount of charge means the air fuel mixture that is delivered to the engine cylinder will be varying with the varying power output. and the speed of air which is taken into the cylinder, it determines the amount of fuel. If the speed of air is high, that means if more air is coming, the fuel content will also be more. If there is less air, then the fuel content will be lesser. So that was the carburetor. Carburetor has many drawbacks because it is a very old mechanism and very raw mechanism where we cannot control the quantity, we cannot vary the quantity of fuel according to the load conditions. The carburetor, it cannot ensure proper mixing of air and fuel at required levels that we mentioned just now. And the Venturi area causes restrictions to the airflow because there is a decreasing cross section. Since air is a fluid, it will always cause restrictions to the airflow. And carburetor has a many number of mechanical parts. So whenever a number of mechanical parts are present, it will decrease the operational efficiency. Volumetric efficiency again will be decreased because there are a number of bends, then choke valve is present, throttle valve present. So number of parts are present during or in the path of the airflow or the air fuel mixture flow. So due to that obstructions, volumetric efficiency will be decreased. Then the main disadvantage, that is highly affected by variations in ambient pressure. So since the float valve or this collecting tank is open to the atmosphere, the fuel is maintained at atmospheric pressure. So whenever there is a change in atmospheric pressure, that change will be reflected in the fuel also. So we know that the fuel is supplied to this Venturi area due to the difference of pressure between this Venturi area and the fuel present in this tank. So whenever this pressure is changed, it will reflect in the quantity of fuel that is supplied here because the pressure difference will also change. So if atmospheric condition changes, the fuel supply also changes. So that is a very big disadvantage of carburetor. So that is about the carburetor, which is the ancient or the older system that was used for automobiles, and it is not being used nowadays because it has a large number of drawbacks. Now let us see the modern fuel supply systems used in automobiles nowadays. That is fuel injection. Fuel injection has been used in the case of diesel engines from earlier time onwards, but in petrol engines the fuel injection technique was used more recently. Earlier there was carburetor system, and due to the drawbacks of carburetor system, this fuel injection techniques were used in petrol engines also during the late 1900s and early 2000s. Now fuel injection system actually introduces fuel into the engine cylinder by means of a fuel injector. Then there are many different methods by which the fuel injection can be done. Fuel injection by means of fuel injector, especially petrol is injected or can be injected into the inlet manifold, or it can be injected directly into the engine cylinder, that is the combustion chamber. So both these are two different technologies. The first one, where the petrol or the fuel is injected directly is injected into the inlet manifold, it is known as port injection, or we also call it as multi-point fuel injection, MPFI. So in multi-point fuel injection or port injection, the fuel is injected into the inlet manifold. So that is the tube which is coming and joining into the engine cylinder head. So this inlet air, in the case of multi-point fuel injection, this air will be taken into the engine cylinder through the inlet manifold, and when the air is moving through the inlet manifold, a required quantity of fuel will be sprayed into the inlet manifold, and this air and fuel will mix together, and then this air fuel mixture is taken through the inlet valve into the combustion chamber. So that is port injection or multi-point fuel injection. In the second case, where the fuel is injected directly into the engine cylinder, similar to diesel engine, here only air is taken into the engine cylinder, and at the time when air is reaching the engine cylinder, the required quantity of fuel is sprayed into the combustion chamber, and the air fuel mixture will be formed in the combustion chamber and it undergoes combustion. So it is very similar to diesel engines, and this technology we call it as direct injection, gasoline direct injection. So both these techniques have their own advantages and disadvantages that we will be seeing later on in this lecture. So fuel injection, it is mostly indirect. Nowadays direct injection is also there. Petrol is injected into the inlet manifold or port, and air fuel mixture is formed and it enters into the engine cylinder. In diesel engines we follow direct injection because we can obtain a required ratio only by direct injection. Diesel, it is a diesel oil, it won't vaporize. So if it is mixed with air, it cannot vaporize on its own. High temperature is needed to vaporize diesel. So that is why it is called as a diesel oil. It cannot, or it is not a volatile fuel like petrol. So diesel engines, fuel is injected directly into the engine cylinder when the temperature is very high. So at that high temperature, when diesel enters into the engine cylinder, it will spontaneously undergo combustion. Now what is the primary difference between carburetors and the carburetor system and fuel injection system? So in fuel injection system, there is a fuel injector which will spray the fuel at a very high pressure. So the droplets of fuel coming out of the fuel injector are very minute. It comes out as a spray and it will undergo atomization very quickly, or it will vaporize very quickly. And in the carburetor we studied that due to the suction of intake air, the air is going or passing through the venturi tube, and due to that acceleration of the air, it takes along with it the fuel also, and thereby the fuel is vaporized. So in injection system, the fuel injection atomizes the fuel and it makes use of a fuel injector. So there are two different types of fuel injection systems. In the case of port injection in the sense injection taking place at the inlet manifold, that is throttle injection system and port injection system or multi-point injection system. Throttle injection system is also known as single point or single port injection system, and the second is multi-point fuel injection, single point fuel injection and multi-point fuel injection. In single point injection, we can see that the injection occurs at a common point. Injection occurs at a common point inside the inlet manifold, and this air fuel mixture is then taken to different cylinders. Whereas in the case of multi-point fuel injection, we have fuel injectors located at the different points near to the engine cylinders, separate engine cylinders, so that the air fuel mixture is separately taken into the different engine cylinders. So here the air fuel mixture is formed commonly, and this commonly formed air fuel mixture is taken to different engine cylinders, whereas in multi-point the air fuel mixture is formed separately near to the different engine cylinders. So that is the difference. Now these are the different objectives that has to be satisfied by fuel injection. Power output, fuel efficiency, they should be very high. Emission performance should be high. Then alternative fuels, commonly this is not noticed, but even then the objective of fuel injection is to accommodate alternative fuels. Smooth and reliable operation should be given. Then initial and maintenance cost should be balanced. We know that the fuel injection has a very high cost, but even then it should be balanced. Then if there is any fault that is occurring with the fuel injection system, it should be diagnosed easily. We should be able to find out the fault very easily. So it should have a diagnostic capability. Then it should be able to operate under a very large range of environment conditions, ranging from very harsh condition to very normal condition. Then engine tuning should be possible. So these are the different objectives of fuel injection. So the different fuel injections which we can see here: throttle body injection, we call it as TBI, or single point fuel injection. Here we make use of only a single injector, fuel injector. This fuel injector will inject the fuel under very high pressure, and fuel is injected as a fine spray, and it functions like a single carburetor. So here air and the sprayed fuel will mix together, and this air fuel mixture is taken to different engine cylinders. So that is throttle body injection. In port injection or multi-point fuel injection, we have multiple injectors located near to each engine cylinder. So there will be ports or manifolds that are entering into different cylinders. So there will be, if there is a 4-cylinder engine, we will have 4 separate injectors located at the inlet manifolds of these 4 cylinders, and fuel injection will be taking place, and air will be mixing with the injected fuel, and that air fuel mixture will be entering into that particular cylinder. So that is multi-point fuel injection. Then we have continuous port injection system, where the fuel is injected continuously into the inlet manifold, and accordingly the required air fuel mixture is taken into the required engine cylinders. So that is continuous port injection system. And after all this, we have the latest or the very latest technology, that is gasoline direct injection system, where the petrol or gasoline is injected directly inside the engine cylinder. So this gasoline direct injection is a recent technology used in petrol engines. So this gasoline direct injection system is similar to diesel engines, direct injection diesel engine, where similar to diesel, petrol is also injected directly into the engine cylinder. And the types of fuel injectors which are commonly used, we have mechanical injectors which were used before, and nowadays we use electronic injector. In mechanical injector, we have a needle, the fuel needle, through which the fuel is sprayed. So this needle, when it is in closed condition, it is closed by means of spring pressure. So this needle is attached to other components by means of a spring. So spring is always closed. Due to the spring pressure, this valve is always closed. So when fuel enters into the injector, in the case of mechanical injector, when fuel enters or fuel is supplied to the mechanical injector under high pressure, when pressure builds up, it will push the spring, and due to the spring pressure, this valve will open up and the fuel is sprayed as a very fine spray. That is the working of mechanical injector. In the case of electronic injector, we have a solenoid valve which is an electromagnet. So this electromagnet will operate and it will cause the spring to push this nozzle out. A spring will push out this needle, and due to this it will open up and it will spray the fuel. The whole operation is conducted by a solenoid mechanism, solenoid or an electromagnetic mechanism. So that is electronic injector. So nowadays we use only electronic injectors. So this was the throttle body injection which we talked about, or single point injection. We have a single injector and air enters through the inlet valve, the inlet manifold, and it mixes with the sprayed fuel, and air fuel mixture is formed in this area, that is the throttle body, and this air fuel mixture is taken to different cylinders. And in the case of multi-point fuel injection, here you can see the air enters through the throttle area and it goes to through the inlet manifold to different cylinders. So during this process, we have multiple fuel injectors that are located near the inlet manifold, and it will spray out the fuel as fine spray. So this coming air, it will mix with the spray and it will form the air fuel mixture, and this air fuel mixture is again taken into the engine cylinder. That is multi-point fuel injection. So multi-point fuel injection, it is also known as port injection, and we have multiple fuel injectors used for this purpose. And each engine cylinder has a separate injector to supply the fuel, and that air fuel mixture will be taken into that particular cylinder. Now the fuel is supplied at a very high pressure. Petrol is supplied at a very high pressure. So from the fuel tank, the fuel has to be supplied at a very high pressure to the fuel injector, and this is achieved by means of a pump, fuel pump. So fuel pump usually is an electrical operated pump, and it will take petrol or fuel from the fuel tank through a filter mechanism. So I will show you the figure. This is the schematic diagram of a multi-point fuel injection. We have the fuel tank where we fill the fuel, and this fuel remains almost at atmospheric pressure, as we know. So this fuel is taken by an electric fuel pump. This pump will pump out the fuel from this tank through a fuel filter. This fuel filter, the function of the filter is to filter out the impurities. So the clean fuel will be taken by the pump, and there is a fuel pressure regulator. Whenever the pressure of fuel exceeds that particular pressure, the remaining fuel will be taken back to the fuel tank. So the function of fuel pressure regulator is to maintain the fuel pressure at a constant limit. So this fuel is supplied by the pump to the fuel injector. Now there are two separate injectors. One is the cold start injector and other is the normal fuel injector. Cold start injectors are used during cold start condition. So during cold start condition, we know that the amount of fuel required is more. So to provide a more rich mixture, this cold start injector is also operated so that more fuel is admitted to the engine and a rich mixture is obtained. And this is the portion which we see as a black tube, when we open the bonnet of the car, we can see a black tube which is mounted on the top of the engine. So that is the air filter component. Air is taken in through that area, air passes through an air filter and through a butterfly valve. The air will be taken into the engine cylinder, and during this process the air will mix with the fuel that is sprayed by the fuel injector, and this air fuel mixture is entering into the engine cylinder through the valve, inlet valve. We also have different other sensors that are mounted in the engine at different places. The function of these sensors is to collect the conditions of the engine at different points. We have pressure sensor, then we have the air temperature sensor, ambient temperature sensor, the speed sensor, crankshaft sensor, camshaft sensor, and many sensors are there which we will see now. So these sensors will collect information from those areas, and this information is supplied to an electronic control unit or the ECU. So the function of ECU is to control the fuel injector according to the engine condition. So whenever the engine condition varies, according to that the required amount of fuel is sprayed. For example, if it is a cold condition, cold start condition, so cold start, we know that more quantity of fuel will be required. So air temperature sensor will sense the condition of air that is entering into the cylinder and also the engine temperature condition. So engine temperature, if it is cold, we know that it is a cold start condition. So that information will be given to the electronic control unit that it is a cold start condition. Accordingly, the fuel injector will be given instruction to spray more quantity of fuel to obtain a more rich mixture. So it will spray more quantity of fuel and we will be getting a rich mixture to start the engine. When there is acceleration, this is the acceleration pedal. When we are giving more acceleration, the throttle valve will open up more. So this condition will be detected by the sensor that is mounted, and it will give the information to the ECU that it is throttling condition and it requires more fuel. So accordingly, instruction will be given from ECU to the fuel injector to supply more air, so to supply more fuel. So again, more rich mixture is obtained in the engine cylinder because the acceleration pedal is pressed. So similarly, for the different operating conditions or for the different requirements, there are different sensors that are mounted in the engine at different points, and these sensors will give appropriate information to the electronic control unit, so that electronic control unit will send accordingly the condition that is needed for the fuel injector, whether it should inject more fuel or whether it should inject only lesser fuel. So this is the functioning of multi-point fuel injection system. It is a very easy system to understand. Now I mentioned about the different sensors. So let us see what are the different sensors used in multi-point fuel injection system. Crankshaft speed sensor determines speed and angle of the crankshaft. Camshaft speed sensor, speed and angle of the cam without contacting it. Knock sensor. So if knocking occurs due to the lesser quantity of fuel, sometimes knocking can occur. So this knocking condition is sensed by knock sensor, and it will send information to the electronic control unit that there is a chance of knocking. So in order to prevent that, appropriate quantity of fuel has to be supplied. So that information is given to ECU, and ECU will send instructions to the electronically controlled fuel injector to send or to pump out more quantity of fuel accordingly to prevent knocking. Then we have mass airflow sensor to measure the quantity of air drawn into the engine. Then we have the manifold pressure the sensor known as manifold absolute pressure sensor. Then to find out the barometric pressure, the outside pressure condition, we have barometric pressure sensor. Throttle position sensor to understand how the acceleration is taking place, what is the position of the throttle. Then what is the condition of coolant or the engine temperature, we have the coolant temperature sensor. Whether the amount of coolant is less, whether it is more, whether an engine is becoming more hotter than usual. So in order to collect all that information, we have coolant temperature sensor. Then we have the manifold air temperature sensor, inlet manifold air temperature and also exhaust manifold air temperature. Then exhaust oxygen sensor, what is the quantity of oxygen that is present in the exhaust gases, whether there is more content of oxygen or whether there is a very insufficient quantity of oxygen. So it will determine whether the air fuel mixture ratio required is correct or not, whether insufficient combustion is taking place or whether only whether the combustion taking place is correct. Then what is the speed of the vehicle, that is collected by vehicle speed sensor. Then battery voltage sensor to determine whether sufficient supply voltage is available in the battery. So all these are the sensors that provide information to the electronic control unit or the ECU for the multi-point fuel injection to operate. Just a pictorial representation of multi-point fuel injection. From the tank we have the fuel pump which takes or collects the fuel from the tank, and it passes through a fuel filter, a fuel accumulator and a fuel filter, and the filtered out fuel goes to the fuel distributor. So this distributor mechanism distributes fuel at high pressure to the different injectors that are mounted on the different manifolds. So these are the manifolds, the inlet manifold, and this is the pipe or the tract for taking air. So air comes through another area and it is given to the inlet manifold through a pipe, that is known as the inlet tract. So here the air and the fuel will be mixed together to form the air fuel mixture, and the air fuel mixture is then taken into the engine cylinder. We also have a cold start injector, as we mentioned earlier, to start the engine during cold start condition. So there are separate different components for the multi-point fuel injection which you need not study in more detail. There is an electronic control unit which controls the conditions of the engine, conditions of the supply of the fuel. So electronic control unit is actually an electronic unit which derives or which collects all the information from various sensors and sends instructions to the different components. So fuel injector is one component which is actuated or which is given instruction by the electronic control unit. Similarly, other different units are also there to which the electronic control unit sends information to. Then we have the fuel supply unit and air induction unit. Now there are two different types of multi-point fuel injection system. Very briefly we can say that is DMPFI system and LMPFI system. So these two systems vary only in the input signals that are supplied to the ECU. In DMPFI system, the main input signals given to the ECU are intake manifold pressure, engine speed and the mass flow rate of air. So these are the three input signals given to the ECU by the sensors in the case of DMPFI system. In the case of LMPFI system, it is much more simpler mechanism. The main input signals are only the mass flow rate of air or the volume rate of air and the engine speed. So according to this information given, the ECU will calculate the required air-fuel ratio. So depending on the input signals given to ECU to control the air-fuel ratio, the MPFI fuel injection systems are divided into DMPFI and LMPFI system. Now let us look at the advantages of multi-point fuel injection. High quality fuel distribution, volumetric efficiency is increased, lesser fuel consumption, and engine response to the throttling is very high because the information given to ECU is very fast. Since it is an electronic signal, the engine conditions are analyzed very quickly, and accordingly the instructions are given to operate by the fuel injector. So response of the engine to the throttling condition, if the requirement is high, at that point itself the fuel injector will provide more quantity of fuel. So the response is very fast. More precise metering. Metering means controlling the fuel. So more precisely we can control the injection of fuel. And increased combustion efficiency, because we are providing correct quantity of air fuel ratio for that particular engine condition, we can obtain very high combustion efficiency. Now disadvantages, we have a very complicated mechanism when compared with earlier carburetor mechanism. Initial cost is high, maintenance cost is high, and wearing of electrical and mechanical components will take place and we have to replace them, so cost will be more. So in spite of all these disadvantages, we have a large number of advantages when compared with the earlier carburetor system. So this is very commonly used in vehicles nowadays, multi-point fuel injection. And again we have a gasoline direct injection system that is used in case of petrol engines, very recently used petrol engines, where the fuel is, or the petrol is, directly injected inside the engine cylinder instead of injecting it in the inlet manifold similar to multi-point fuel injection. Here the fuel is injected directly into the engine cylinder in the form of fine spray, and only air is entering through the inlet manifold, and here the air and fuel mixes together, and during the compression stroke the spark plug will produce spark and it will ignite the air fuel mixture. So this is gasoline direct injection. So this is the latest injection technique or technology that is used in latest vehicles nowadays. Many common vehicles or many common low to medium segment vehicles use multi-point fuel injection system still, but high-end vehicles use gasoline direct injection. This is very costly since fuel injector has to be accommodated in the engine cylinder. It needs a lot of calibration. So all this will make the engine more costly. So this is found only in the case of costlier engines. So high-end vehicles use gasoline direct injection technique. So just a comparison of the different systems which we learned now. Carburetor, then the port fuel or the multi-point fuel injection technique, where fuel is injected into the intake manifold or intake port, and direct injection, where the fuel is injected directly into the engine cylinder and air is taken in through the engine cylinder, enters into the engine cylinder through the inlet port and through the inlet valve, and it mixes with the sprayed fuel. So the timeline, the earlier systems used carburetor until 1990s. Now we have the port injection or the multi-point fuel injection systems even used nowadays, and it was introduced in the early 1980s, and the gasoline direct injection system which was introduced in the early 90s, and now it is being used currently in higher end vehicles. And one more system that we have, that is for diesel engines alone, that is common rail direct injection system. So common rail direct injection system is a system advanced fuel injection system used in the case of diesel engines. So diesel engines have again different mechanisms, but here we are learning about common rail or CRDI engines, common rail direct injection system. So in common rail direct injection system, we have a diesel fuel tank from which diesel is taken. We have two separate pumps here, a low pressure pump and a high pressure pump. The low pressure pump takes fuel from the diesel tank and supplies diesel or it passes diesel through a filter. Filter will filter out all the impurities, and there is a pressure regulator which will regulate the pressure. And after that it is passed on to a high pressure pump, because in diesel engines the required pressure for pumping diesel is comparatively very higher than that of petrol engine. So very high pressure is required in the case of diesel engine. So this pressure is achieved by means of a high pressure pump. So this high pressure pump pumps the pressurized diesel to a tube known as common rail. So this common rail collects the diesel at a very high pressure and maintains the diesel at a very high pressure. And fuel is then supplied to different injectors through the common rail. So the common rail stores diesel at a very high pressure, and it is sensed by a pressure sensor, and whenever this pressure, the fuel is supplied to very high pressure to this common rail. So whenever the pressure is exceeding a particular set limit, the fuel is supplied to the particular injector. So this fuel injector will inject the diesel at very high pressure to the required engine cylinder. The injector is injecting the diesel at very high pressures, more than 1000 bar, 1000 to 1500 bar pressure range is there. So that much high pressure is maintained at the common rail mechanism, and it is sprayed by the different injectors accordingly to the different cylinders. So which injector has to be operated, that is controlled by the electronic control unit based on the different engine conditions, and how much the injector has to operate, that is again controlled by the electronic control unit. So this is known as common rail direct injection. CRDI is used only in the case of diesel engines. We have low pressure pump, high pressure pump, the common rail, ECU, the injection lines, injectors or fuel injectors, sensors, etc. All these are controlled electronically, and even at low speeds very high injection pressures are possible in the case of CRDI engines. So the advantages are increased power and fuel efficiency, and reduced emissions due to complete combustion of the diesel engine, diesel fuel, reduced noise and vibration, and increased engine life. So all this is possible in the case of CRDI. So at high pressure, when we pump the diesel as a fine spray, this fuel spray will be ignited instantaneously because there is high pressure that is built up in the diesel engine. So in diesel engine we know the functioning. During suction stroke, the air is taken into the engine cylinder, and during compression this air is compressed to a very high temperature and pressure, and it is at this point that the fuel is supplied to the engine cylinder, that is, diesel is sprayed to the engine cylinder. So during this point, due to the very high temperature and pressure, the sprayed diesel will undergo combustion instantaneously, and it will cause expansion of the air fuel mixture that is present inside the cylinder, and it will push the piston downwards, thereby producing power. That is the function of the diesel engine. So in common rail diesel engine, we have a common rail where the high pressure diesel is accumulated up to a certain pressure, and it is taken up by the different injectors, and these injectors will supply the pressurized diesel as fine spray into the diesel engine cylinder. So with that, we conclude the different fuel systems that are available in IC engines. Thank you.